everyone, so welcome to today's video. Thanks for joining me. Today we're doing another drugstore video. I'm still on my drugstore series. I'm going to use a few different products from different brands, so this is not going to be just one brand specific. I had a lovely subscriber ask my thoughts on a specific foundation from L'Oreal that I have not tried. There's a version of this foundation that I did try many years ago. My oldest was just, 3 or 4 years old, and he's 11. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. And so it's been a really long time since I've used this similar version of foundations. And I've talked about really loving the hyaluronic skin tint from L'Oreal, and I've been mixing it with the super blendable True Match foundation. Those two together are beautiful. The coverage, the wear, the way it makes the skin look, it's so pretty. And it's definitely giving high-end vibes. When I put that on, I just love it. And I've been using that combo a lot lately. But now I'm going to try a new foundation from L'Oreal, or new to me, I should say. And I'm just going to give you my thoughts. I'm also going to sprinkle in a couple of new things as well throughout the video and just kind of let you know my thoughts on that foundation and just my thoughts along the way. So if that sounds good, then let's go ahead and get ready together. The foundation that I'm going to use today is the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear Foundation. I picked up the shade 405 Porcelain, and there is a little bit of an issue for me personally, as always with drugstore foundations, trying to find a good match. So I hope that this is going to work. So in store, these shades, I was comparing them, and even the same shade number, they had a little bit of a different kind of tone to them. And the sticker on some of them were a different color. And I think they could have possibly changed the packaging and the formula shades as well, the undertones. Or maybe that comparison that I did was two products that had been sitting on the shelf for a while. I don't know. But this looks like it could be all right, at least for me to get a feel for it. I could always add something to this to darken it if it's too light. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use my damp beauty blender to blend this in. I did take care of primer off camera. I'm using one from L'Oreal. This is the Prime Lab Primer, the Pore Minimizer. I have enjoyed this so much. This is a small little gift with purchase from an Ulta order that I placed weeks ago, and I have enjoyed this very much, and I do see myself purchasing this in full size when I finish this little tube, but I only use a very small amount, kind of like a pearl size amount, and that blends beautifully over the skin. And I do feel like that does not only give a soft focus effect to the skin, it smooths over the skin, makes it look more poreless and more diffused. I had my skincare products on for a little while, and my moisturizer is a little bit more moisturizing, so it definitely took down the shine from the, or I should say the dewiness from the skincare products, and it's a visible improvement of the skin that I can see upon application, and I think it's going to be one that's going to play well with this foundation, or at least I hope so. Maybe a little light. I don't know. My face is a little bit more rosy than my neck, so I think it's going to be fine. We'll make it work today. This does have an SPF 25, by the way. I don't know if I said that at the start when I was talking about the foundation, but it does have an SPF, which is a nice little bonus. I wouldn't recommend relying on that for your sun protection. And it doesn't bother me. As long as it doesn't make me break out, I'm fine with it. Okay, actually, you know what? That's not too bad. Not too bad. Ooh, I feel like the more I order foundations online or the more I look at them in store, I'm getting better with matching and selecting a shade that is pretty darn good. So kudos to me. I gotta pat myself on the back. I do think it's kind of making my skin look dry right here on the sides of the nose. But honestly, it's not looking bad at all. And I like the coverage. Would I go as far as saying that I like this immediately better than my two-step combo with the skin tint and the super blendable foundation? No, but this is my first time. Things could change, but I do think it looks pretty. And I ended up using all of what I pumped out, and I think it's because the beauty blender tends to eat up some excess product. And you can still see I have like a sunspot there. I have some just scarring from acne breakouts from many years ago. They're like a bit more deeper set scars, so you can kind of see that a little bit, which is fine. It is what it is. But I would say that this is giving me a pretty solid medium to full. I think with a brush, the coverage will be much more elevated and more full coverage. But I like it with the sponge. And, you know, I'm not mad at the shade. Honestly, this is definitely something I can work with. Moving on to concealer now, I'm going to use the L'Oreal True Match Serum Concealer, the Radiant Serum Concealer with 1.5% hyaluronic acid and caffeine. Looks like this. I've talked about this and I use this in my one brand video from L'Oreal. If you haven't seen that video, I'm going to link it. The cards above here will take you to that, and I was actually really surprised. I was shocked. So this concealer I actually have enjoyed very much. The shade that I have is Light N2, and it is lighter than I thought it was based off of what it looks like in the tube in person and based off of swatches and online photos. But honestly, I like how it brightens and I like the coverage. I like the fact that there's skincare benefits added to it. It's a bonus. It's always something that makes me happy to see when skincare is added to a formula. It's not a must-have for me, but it's nice to have it. So I'm filming 2 videos at once today. I'm going to separate a few different pieces from today's video to put into a separate video. I wanted to kind of point out that I was kind of doing the intro for the other portion of the video, and I had not set this concealer yet that we just applied, and I have very, very minimal creasing under the eyes. So it's one that doesn't need to be set with a lot of powder, or if you don't like powder at all, you may not have a lot of creasing with this because I think it's the formula being a little bit on the thinner side. But I am going to set it, and I'm going to do a little bit of baking. You probably guessed that I'm going to use the Maybelline Fit Me Loose powder. This is what I'm going to use. This is the powder that I feel like gives me a very similar result to the Huda Beauty Easy Bake powder, which is an absolute love of mine. And I have the shade Fair Light, so I'm going to do a little bit of baking with a powder puff. I'm going to set and also apply this a little bit heavier right in the larger pore area to set and just kind of see how this foundation plays with baking and a little bit of a heavier powder set. Now the powder itself is not powdery and super cakey and dry looking, but I am layering quite a bit, so I do want to see how this foundation is going to play with this technique, because like I said, it's looking dry right in this area, the zone that I'm patting with the puff, so you can kind of see what I was talking about earlier. It's looking a little dry, and right around here where I have, you know, some settling around the mouth, it's looking a little dry, and that's pretty much it. So hopefully it plays well with this powder. And then I'm going to take whatever is left on my puff sponge, which isn't much at all, and I'm going to lightly just go over the T-zone, like the center, bridge of the nose, the chin, and right between the brows, and just a little bit right in through here, just to use whatever was left on my sponge, just so that it doesn't sit on my sponge and essentially get wasted. So I'm going to just make use out of it. But I'm going to let this bake sit for a little bit. Also, I'm going to do my bronzer, which is the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear Bronzer. I was asked about this in the comment section very recently, and I also did feature this in my one brand video for L'Oreal. This is actually one of the better bronzers that I've tried from the drugstore. And I also like the fact that it is matte. I have a lot of drugstore bronzers that have some level of sheen or shimmer or luminosity to it, and I prefer a matte blush. And the range on this is like superb. There is a shade for every different skin tone, and the one that I have here is number 250 Light. All right, so a bit of a progress check here. After I dusted away the bake, I do not like the way this powder from Maybelline is sitting on my skin over this Infallible Fresh Wear foundation from L'Oreal. It actually does look kind of dry, so I'm going to say that there's a possibility that the effect that I'm getting is because of the pore minimizing primer. So maybe what I need to do is try this concoction again, this same foundation, concealer, and powder with a basic primer for hydration, or maybe no primer, just go straight onto my bare face with just skincare products. But it is looking quite dry and very heavy over the nose, and I had to use my finger to kind of soften that because it almost looked like a patch of where the powder was clinging to the top of my nose and the point part of my nose, and of course the sides. The kind of this area here on the cheek, I'm not really feeling how this is looking. I think that the addition of the powder from Maybelline on top just was not the right choice. So I'm not really thrilled so far. I'm gonna just let this hang out, and I'm gonna go into that bronzer that I showed you earlier from L'Oreal, and I'm gonna blend this in. I'm gonna keep proceeding with the rest of my makeup and see, maybe it'll change. Maybe as it sets on my skin, things will be different, or maybe not, but I'm not really thrilled so far with it. So I'm just taking it easy with the bronzer because I do know that my face is already looking a little dry with the powder and foundation. And I am using a powder bronzer because I want to see how some other new products are going to blend over powder. So I am, again, doing another video as well at the same time. So I definitely have to just leave this as is because that's just authentic and real. This is the real life experience of these products. And I am going to just use a little bit of the bronzer as well, like around the jawline and the neck. My lids are prepped. I use my MAC Painterly Paint Pot. I always use this. That's something I can count on to prevent creasing. And I never have issues with that sort of interfering with the eyeshadow. So today's eyeshadow look is going to come from the Colourpop Stone Cold Fox palette. It looks like this. So looking at this palette, I have not used this yet and I have been dying to do an eye look. I think I'm going to do something just pretty simple and quick and easy just because, like I said, I'm trying to knock out several videos in one sitting. So I'm going to use a few shades just to kind of start creating a soft look for the day. And I think the issue for me is deciding where I want to start because I want to put all these shades on my eye, but I feel like we have to start somewhere. So let's start with sort of defining the crease and creating more of a transition shade. So I think I'm going to start with the shade called Trip, which is the second one in the first row with a big fluffy crease brush from Morphe. And I'm just going to blend this really quickly into the crease just to start creating a bit more shape and dimension to my eye. And I'm not being really precise. I'm really just kind of haphazard just putting this into the crease because it is a very light shade. It doesn't have a whole lot of pigment. It's just several shades deeper than my skin tone. I think I'm going to hop over to this last shade in the second palette, and that is called Ghost Town. And it's a bit more of a cooler kind of mid-tone brownish gray. And I'm going to make it easy for myself, and I'm going to use that same brush. So this shade is a lot cooler and much more pigmented than I thought. So I'm picking up a little bit more of a grayish tone with that shade, more so than what it looks like in the palette. It looks more of like a brown with a grayish tone to it, but applied to me, this looks much more gray. And I am having like a little bit of a patch right here that doesn't want to blend. So I think it's just maybe my eyelid is just having a funky day today. For the outer V, I think I want to go with something that's a little bit more neutral and dark brown. So I think I'm going to go down to this bottom shade here in the bottom row, and this is called Fickle Fate. And I'm going to tap this on the outer V with a Sephora Pro Crease 27 brush. With the Colourpop E27 shade, I'm going to take the Ghost Town color, the first kind of grayish shade, and I'm going to run that on my lower lashes just to incorporate the same shades from the upper lash line down to the lower. And then with the same brush over top of that, I'm going to use that Fickle Fate that I have on my outer V. So I'm running into a little bit of difficulties with this shadow look so far. I'm gonna leave it. I have no plans on taking this off. I don't have time for that today, honestly. So I'm just gonna chalk it up to my skin not having a good skin day. It's going through something, obviously. It doesn't want to play well with makeup. I gathered that at the beginning when I was doing my foundation. So I'm gonna leave this as is, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna top most of my lids with a shimmer shade and then kind of go over the outer V, kind of diffuse things, cover up a little bit of patchiness, and then just call it a day because, like I said, I'm not taking this off. So this palette offers you so many different options. You have some really pretty kind of light icy vibes, some silvers, some pinky shades, some kind of berry plummy shades. You have some cooler kind of taupe shades, smoky shades here. You have a lot to choose from. So again, it goes back to deciding what color you want to use because they're just all really pretty. Something about this shade called Caving In, which is the fourth shade in the fourth row, is calling my name. And so I think I'm just going to go in for that and use that all over my lid just to do a little bit more of a smokiness. It's a little bit deeper. I could have chosen something else, but there's just something, my eye just went straight to that. So that's what we're doing. And I'm patting this in with a Colourpop E26 brush. I switched brushes to a larger eyeshadow brush that is synthetic from Laura Geller because that smaller brush from Colourpop was not cutting it. And now I feel like I'm getting a bit more payoff and color intensity. So I'm going in from inner corner to outer corner, just trying to overlap. And the colors that I have in my crease is just going to help with a more blended look around the outer edge of this eyeshadow that I'm using, the caving in. So it's all going to work out eventually, and it's going to come together when I do my liner and mascara. This shade is really pretty. I like this one. And I'm going to run that same shade, whatever's left on my brush, very carefully on the lower lashes. I don't want to dirty any more brushes. I'm just going to use the same one. Then I'm going back in with that first crease brush, and I'm just blending and softening that edge because it was looking a little harsh in my opinion. So I'm just going to work this and rock that brush back and forth just to soften it. And I do want to lighten things up a little bit in the inner corner, so I'm going to use one of the lighter shades in this palette for that. For the inner corner highlight, I'm going to use this shade here on the top row. It is the 5th shade. It's called I Dig It, and I feel like that's a bit more of a champagne with a kind of cool silver undertone to it. And I'm going to use a Colourpop brush as well. This is the E29. And I'm just going to use a little bit of this for the inner corner. You could use this light kind of yellowy shade or this one here, or skip this step altogether, but those are some options for you. Alrighty, so that is very pigmented. A lot more pigmented than I expected. Okay, so we're going to have a very bright inner corner. It's okay. And whatever's left on my brush, I'm going to go right underneath the brow bone just a little bit. So this is what we landed on for eyeshadows. I do need to do a little bit of liner, and I've got 2 options. I'm not quite sure which one I'm going to use. I have the Tattoo Studio ink pen from Maybelline, and I also have the Tattoo Studio gel liner pencil in the shade Bold Brown, which looks really dark, almost like a black brown type shade. So I'm not quite sure if I want to do a really dark matte black or kind of keep it a little softer. I don't know. Let's start with the pencil first and see where that takes us. And then I'm going to use the Maybelline Firework mascara that recently came out. I did do a review on this already in one of my last videos, and I love this mascara. It's beautiful on the lashes, so I'm wearing that. And hopefully these 2 together will kind of lift my spirits and make me feel better about the eye look, because I'm not that thrilled about it, honestly. So let's start with the pencil. Okay, this is very, very pigmented, and I got it on my contact lens. That's fantastic. Super creamy, very rich. Went on very well, and so I'm going to use the same pencil on the upper lashes because this color looks almost black. So I think I'm not going to use the liquid liner today. Moving on to lips, just quickly before we do our lip combo today, I do feel like the liner and the lashes definitely took this look up a notch for me, and I like the end result. I like that kind of smokiness with a bit of a cool kind of undertone to it. I will say that the eyeliner, the Tattoo Studio, is actually very pigmented, and it went on with ease. I did smudge it a little bit because the line ended up being a little thicker than I normally go for, but I like it, and I feel like it definitely added some smokiness to the lashes. The mascara, I knew I was going to enjoy that, so just wanted to kind of touch base on those 2 products. Let's wrap up this look with the Maybelline Lifter Liners. These were actually a product that I found on Amazon. I didn't see any sort of promos for this, didn't see this on their Instagram, on social media. I was just searching for different products from each of these main drugstore brands to expand my collection. And then I saw these and I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't seen these. So I picked up 2 shades, and I'm going to use one of the 2 that I actually really enjoyed. This one is called Line Leader, and I feel like it's a really nice, like everyday, my lips but better type of shade. These do have some pigmentation to it. They're creamy, as you will see. They go on very easily, but I will say that they do stay on a lot longer than some of my other lip liners. Here's a look at that line leader. I lined my lips and I also filled them in. And I wanted to point out that these will stay on for a long while, and they do feel kind of dry, just a smudge. But hear me out. If this is going to be your only lip product for the day, you're going to feel that it's a little bit dry. You might want to top it with a lifter gloss like you see on the photos on Amazon, or any gloss that you like. A lip oil will kind of break this down, so just be mindful of that. A lipstick, a long wear product over the top, whatever you want. It's going to change the way it feels, but if you use this on its own, it does feel just a little bit dry. But I think that that's important for the longevity purpose of this formula. I do think it needs to be a little bit drier. If it's too creamy, too slippery, too moisturizing and hydrating, I don't feel like that's going to stay on for a long period of time. So I do like the formula, and I think I'm going to top it with something a little bit more cushiony, a little bit more comfortable. And these are the L'Oreal Glow Paradise. I think these are like the tinted balms. I don't know exactly what these are called, but the shade that I'm going to use is number 130 Nude Heaven. And these are actually really pretty sort of tinted lip balm / lipstick type of product. And this shade I think is going to go well with that lip liner. And here's the L'Oreal Glow Paradise lip product over the Maybelline Lifter Liner in Line Leader. I do really love the way this lip combo looks. This product from L'Oreal, these Glow Paradise, I think they're like tinted lip balms or balm in lipstick. I don't know what it is, but they do feel so expensive, so luxurious, and they're from the drugstore. So I love these. I do want to pick up some more shades. I think it's a perfect pairing with that Line Leader lip liner. And that is the full face. I'm going to skip highlighter just because I want to continue working on the second video that I'm working on, and I don't want to add anything super glowy to alter the effect and the wear of the blushes, since you probably can tell I look wild because my two cheeks look a little bit different. So I'm going to wrap up the other video, and then I will show you kind of a little bit more of a cohesive look, because I feel like looking at two different colors is kind of throwing me off. So I'll be right back. So I'm back. I did try to even out the two sides of my face, so I added a little bit more of the L'Oreal on this side, and I think I added a little too much, but you know, who cares? We're gonna go with it. And I wasn't planning on doing highlighter, and I may have even mentioned that I was gonna skip that, but I do have the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. I recently ordered this from Ulta, and I definitely wanted to try this. I have used this before, and I wanna say it's been at least 6-7 years. Remember, because my oldest, he was a little taller at the time when I bought this. I remember I was visiting my sister in Virginia, and we went shopping to Ulta, and I remember picking that up at that shopping trip with my sister, and it kind of just brings back some memories of that trip, and I thought, why not? So this is the shade number 10, Be My Highlight. So I'm using a Colourpop F33 brush to apply this, and this is a very gentle, soft kind of glow. It's so pretty. If you don't like a lot of highlighters, but you're looking for something that can give you a soft kind of candlelit glow, think of like an hourglass type of vibe. This is definitely going to give you that from the drugstore. It's really pretty. It's super subtle, but I like it, especially for today, where it's going to allow me to see still the finish of those blushes that I am testing out and did a video on. So I'm going to just use a little bit through the temples, and that is it. So I hope that this was fun to sit down with me and get ready using some new products, and the end result, I think from a distance everything looks really nice and pretty. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not really thrilled so far with that Infallible Fresh Wear foundation. The jury's still out on that. I am going to try it again and kind of share with you my thoughts maybe in a different video, but I did want to try it, at least do a first impressions, because a subscriber had asked for that. So I want to do the content that you guys want to see. So I definitely wanted to carve out some time today to try that. I do like the other products. The blushes are great. The bronzer's really great as well. The lip combo is perfect. I love that. And you know, I'm going to say that I'm kind of disappointed with the performance of the Stone Cold Fox. I was expecting a lot better, and I'm going to give this another shot. I'm going to just chalk it up to my skin not wanting to have makeup put on it today, and it's going through its moment. So we'll just let it have its moment. But tomorrow it better be on board, because I'm not dealing with this tomorrow. So I'm going to try this again. There's lots for me to use in this palette. So I'll definitely be using this a lot to try different looks and just kind of getting some more variety and looks out of this palette, because it is one of their mega palettes. But I was not as impressed with this as I thought I would be. I love the 1111 palette. It's perfection, and I had gone into this with a lot of excitement, and it kind of let me down a little bit. Again, I'm just being really honest with you guys when I try these products out. So stay tuned for an update on that palette from Colourpop, an update on the Infallible foundation. As always, I'm going to link everything down below in case you want to shop anything that was featured today. I appreciate you so much for being here. I hope this was helpful. Subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and let's be friends on Instagram. It's here on the screen. I'd love to see you there. Take care, you guys, and we'll talk very soon. Bye-bye.